I'm 96 years old now. I've spent over 40 years exploring nearly 50 countries, meeting countless people, and witnessing just about everything life has to offer. But there's one critical thing I've noticed that most people don't realize until it's way too late. It's the quiet, subtle habits we pick up as we age that slowly and silently push the people we love right out of our lives. We think the world is just getting lonelier, but the truth is, we might be the ones building the walls. Today, let's talk about 15 straightforward habits that make people avoid you in old age. The brutal truths that your family is simply too polite to tell you to your face. The first habit is stubbornly refusing any help from others. Every time a grandkid offers to carry a heavy bag or a neighbor wants to drive you to the store, you instantly snap and say, "I can do it myself." I remember doing this to my son during a family trip. I thought I was showing strength, but when I saw the quiet disappointment in his eyes, I realized I wasn't being strong. I was just rejecting his love. When you push away every small gesture of kindness, people eventually stop trying, leaving you exactly how you claimed you wanted to be, entirely alone. The second habit is keeping too much old junk and refusing to clean up. Your house becomes packed with old papers, broken appliances, and useless items from decades ago that you simply refuse to let anyone throw away. I once visited an old friend whose house was so cluttered there was literally nowhere to sit. His grandkids stopped coming over because the whole place felt suffocating, messy, and smelled like dust. Your family genuinely wants to spend time with you, but they don't want to hang out inside a crowded storage unit that feels trapped in the past. The third habit is turning every conversation into a medical report. The moment someone asks how you are doing, you spend the next hour talking about your back pain, digestion issues, and pills. I knew a wonderful woman who developed this habit after her retirement. Over time, her close friends stopped calling because every chat felt like a depressing shift at a hospital clinic. Health problems in old age are very real and tough, but people visit you to connect with you as a person, not to listen to a constant breakdown of your physical ailments. The fourth habit is giving advice when nobody asked for it. When your adult children come to you just to vent about a stressful day at work, you immediately jump in with steps to fix their life. My daughter once came to me crying about a difficult situation at her office. Before she could even finish her sentence, I started telling her what she should do, and she instantly went completely quiet. She didn't want a manager or a problem solver. She just needed her father to sit still and listen. Unasked for advice always sounds like criticism wearing a polite mask. The fifth habit is giving people the silent treatment. When you get upset about something your family did, you shut down and refuse to speak, forcing them to guess what went wrong. I watched a neighbor handle his family this way for years, using cold silence as a weapon. His children grew so exhausted from walking on eggshells and trying to decode his moods that they simply stopped coming over at all. Adult children have enough stress in their own lives. They will choose to stay away rather than play exhausting mind games. The sixth habit is complaining about everything. The weather is always too hot, the food tastes too bland, and the younger generation is completely ruined. I once traveled with a man who grumbled from the moment he woke up until he closed his eyes at night. After just 3 days, I had to cut the trip short because his constant negativity sucked all the joy out of the air. No one wants to hang around a human black hole. If your default language is always misery, people will naturally avoid you to protect their own peace. The seventh habit is always correcting people and judging them. Because you think you know better, you constantly point out how your son drives, how your daughter spends money, or how your grandkids talk. I had a relative who turned every single family dinner into a lecture about how everyone else was living wrong. Eventually, the invitations stopped coming. When you treat every conversation as a chance to judge, you humiliate the people you love, and they will quickly stop sharing their lives with you. The eighth habit is refusing to learn new things or use technology. You wave your hand and proudly say, "I'm just too old for those smart gadgets." I resisted learning how to make video calls for a long time until I saw the deep disappointment in my grandson's eyes when he realized he couldn't see my face from across the world. I swallowed my pride, learned which buttons to press, and it saved our relationship. Stubbornness doesn't make you look traditional or cool. It simply isolates you from the modern life your family lives in. The ninth habit is criticizing the younger generation. You roll your eyes at their clothes, their loud music, and their career choices, completely forgetting that the older folks said the exact same bad things about us when we were young. I remember an old gentleman in Japan who spent hours bashing young people while his own grandkids sat silently in the corner, ignoring him completely. Disapproval never makes the young want to change their ways. It just makes them pull away into spaces where you aren't invited. The 10th habit is always living in the good old days. Every story you tell repeats the exact same memories from 50 years ago over and over again. I once had a friend who could only talk about his high school football glory days from the 1950s. It became so incredibly repetitive that talking to him felt like being stuck in a time loop. Your family lives right here in the present moment, and they desperately want you to show real interest in what is happening in their lives today. The 11th habit is letting personal hygiene slip. You skip showers, wear stained shirts, and let your house smell stale because you feel like nobody is watching anyway. I once visited a brilliant retired professor, but his clothes were visibly dirty and his kitchen was neglected. I ended up cutting my visit short because the environment made me physically uncomfortable. Cleanliness isn't about vanity. It is about basic self-respect and showing respect for the people who choose to sit next to you and share your air. The 12th habit is gossiping and meddling in family drama. When your own social circle shrinks, it is easy to start focusing too much on everyone else's business, talking behind backs and picking sides in your children's marriages. I knew a well-meaning mother in Italy who kept interfering in her son's private relationship. It created a massive, painful fight, and she was banned from visiting them for an entire year. Good intentions never excuse crossing boundaries, and meddling is the fastest way to destroy family trust. The 13th habit is playing the victim to get attention. You constantly complain that nobody ever visits me, or I guess I'm just a burden to everyone now, just to use guilt trips to force attention. I had a relative who called her kids every week just to cry about being abandoned, hoping they would rush over. Instead, they started avoiding her phone calls entirely because the emotional manipulation felt too heavy to bear. Guilt turns a family visit into a painful punishment rather than a genuine joy. The 14th habit is using money or gifts to control people. You offer financial help for a house or buy big presents for your grandkids, but it always comes with unwritten rules of obedience. I watched a wealthy older man buy his daughter a beautiful home, but he used it to dictate exactly how she should live and raise her kids. Eventually, she handed the keys right back to him just to buy her freedom. Real gifts have no strings attached. Otherwise, they are just emotional debts. The 15th habit is losing your smile and sense of humor. Aging brings heavy physical losses and disappointments, and it is easy to let that weight turn you bitter and angry all the time. I met a wonderful 90-year-old woman in London who laughed easily and joked about her wrinkles and memory lapses constantly. Everyone loved being around her because she brought pure lightness into the room. A smile won't cure old age, but it softens the sharp decline and makes you someone people actually want to stay with. Recognizing these 15 habits in ourselves isn't a life sentence of guilt. It's a necessary wake-up call. At 96 years old, I can promise you that holding on to your stubborn pride, your anger, or your piles of old junk is never worth the price of a quiet house and lonely days. Your family still loves you, but they shouldn't have to visit you out of pure obligation or guilt, standing by the door, ready to run. Changing your attitude doesn't require a miracle. It just takes a little less talking, a lot more listening, and a softer heart. When you stop trying to control everything and everyone, you find a deep, quiet peace within yourself. And ironically, that peace is exactly what draws people back to you. Thanks for spending some time on the porch with me today. If this talk meant something to you, please like, share, and subscribe so we can keep having these honest conversations. Take care of yourself, stay kind, and I'll see you next time.